our last Pinot Noir to bring in. It was the one field that held very well up on top of the escarpment off of Fly Road. It was split into 4 different 1-ton bins, and these were we punched these down by hand. We have 2 different clones in here. One is 667, which is typically very fruit-forward Pinot Noir, and then clone 777, which is your meat and guts to the Pinot Noir and body to it. So we had 2 1-ton bins of each. What we then did was, for the one that was very fruit-forward, we used a yeast strain called Aspenhausen, which brings body. So the clone that was very fruit-forward needed a little bit of body. So we used a yeast strain for that. And then the clone, the 777, which is more body-driven, we used RC212, which is a strain of yeast that is used to bring out a lot of fruit, cherry, and plum, which you can pick up in this. Punch those down, ferments, they only peaked out at around 23 to 24 degrees centigrade. Typically, you like to get the reds up to about 30 degrees for color extraction. What we went with instead is we did cold soak for I think it was close to 7 days, around 4 degrees Celsius before anything happened at all. And what that did was allow us to extract the color and the flavor from the grapes without getting any harsh tannins. Last year, things were pretty green that were coming in, nothing that actually phenologically ripened with respect to the grapes, and they weren't actually naturally ripe because it was such a cold year. Therefore, instead of doing extraction during fermentation and after fermentation when there's alcohol, which can bring out those green and harsh tannins, we decided we elected to go with a cold soak before the fermentation when there is no alcohol present. Therefore, it doesn't extract the harsh green bitter tannins. And we got most of our color and flavor even before it started fermenting. And that allowed us to run it a little bit colder, meaning like to 23 to 24 degrees Celsius. And by doing that, we were able to retain a lot of the fruit in the reds, because what happens when you're fermenting wine, whites specifically, that big aromatic, big nose of the wine where it's all fruit driven, the warmer it ferments, the more that blows off because they're volatile aromatics. So by fermenting this a little cooler, we retain a lot of the fruit. We did a very soft press on it. I think we only got to about 0.8 bars on this one in particular, but it was a very small batch, so it's all right. Then it went into oak barrels and has been there for 10 months now. We have 45% brand new French. It is, I'm just trying to think, then 2 barrels, so 18% brand new American from Barrel Associates. The French brand new oak was Danny, we elected to go with. That French oak brings some soft, keeps the fruit there. Not too aggressive in the wood, whereas the American, the brand new American, the 2 barrels that are a component of this, are a little more aggressive, some smoky, some barbecue, some spice kind of notes to it. And then we have so about 8 to 9% of a 2-year-old French from Demptos is the Cooper, and it's a Vosges barrel. And then we have a 3-year-old, so another 8 to 9% of Billion, or French barrel, which is 3 years old. And then we have 2 more barrels representing about 18% of Canton, which is an American oak, but it's 4-year-old. Idea behind that is that the fruit stays there. We still get the barrel aging from that 4-year-old American barrel, those 2 4-year-old American barrels, but we're not getting a big oak impact on them, right? They're just there to age the wine, age the Pinot natural, in barrel, natural barrel aging, a little bit of oxidation to it, but not to have too much oak impact. It was we got tons of color out of this one, big fruit on it, so we were able to use, instead of maybe your 20% new oak, we were able to go up to, we reached 60%, 55% new oak with this, close to 60% actually, of new oak, and it's been able to withstand that. It's still in barrel, and if everything goes smoothly from this point on, we will let it sit in oak for another probably 3 months. If all the numbers and all the chemistry stays in line, we'll pull it out and we're looking for a release on this Pinot, most likely end of February, beginning of March.
It's got a real nice smoke on the finish, not poured just alone.
It's a pretty complex Pinot, I think. There's a lot going on in that glass, and there's a lot more to develop. The longer that you give this air, the longer you aerate it, the more the fruit starts coming out. It has been closed in a barrel for 10 months, and there's a little bit of musty notes associated when you pull wines fresh out of a barrel. But you give it a little bit of time, and that blows off a little bit, and you get to where you're standing right now.
What's the alcohol?
You're looking at 13.5. Okay. Approximately 13.5.
How did you make up this
the sample? Did you just?
I actually, about 3 hours ago, with Brad, is videotaping today. We pulled them out of the barrels today. So they were just.
So it's not just from one you
It's-
do
it's-
have
Oh no,
one.
the barrels that I just talked about,
Yeah.
there's 5 new French, 2 new American.
So you tried to get something from each of them?
I did, we brought it up in this graduated cylinders, exactly what the excellence will be.
The
Two-
same the same
Exact same percentage.
Ooh, very
So
good.
this is exactly what it will be. We've held 11 barrels to age, and at one point winter we want to bring them out and put them in a 2,500 tank of bottle water. This has been totally gravity racked. There's been, except for obviously the processing when we're doing our pumping and the racking off the leaves. Ever since then, it's been 100% gravity racked, where we bring the barrels up with our forklift, bleed them into a tank, like keep all the French separate, all the Americans separate, and all the different ages, and then gravity rack, then lift the tank up into the air and gravity rack back into the barrel. So there's been no pumping for the past 10 months in this one. And if the chemistry does stay right, we'll probably do it unfiltered.
She was just waiting